Hello and welcome to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich, and today our guest is Fr Zsolt, who's a Hungarian Catholic priest in Victoria. Welcome to the program, Father.
You're welcome.
And today
Thank you for inviting.
You're welcome. And today we're going to be discussing chapter John 6, which is what you wished for. So we'll start reading that, and then I'll ask you to talk about it to us. Mm-hmm.
Before you start,
yes,
I have to tell to everyone that every Christians should read this gospel, and especially of the John chapter 6.
Yeah.
At least once in their lifetime, they should read and think about this, what we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. Now, please.
Okay, beautiful. Jesus feeds the 5,000, John chapter 6. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is the Sea of Tiberias. And a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite." Another of the disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up, "Here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will they go among so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people sit down." There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, "Gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted." So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. After the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, "Surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world." Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to a mountain by himself. So why do you say that this is a very important gospel reading for everyone to read? And then let's see what you've got to say about it.
To see the whole picture, first of all, we have to understand how the Jews were thinking about the Messiah. Mm-hmm. First of all, they waited for 2 kinds of Messiah. The first kind was the king, who will lead us and we will win over any armies. And of course, they were waiting that because they were occupied by the Romans and didn't like that. Nobody liked that. And they thought that the Messiah will lead us into a war and everybody will kneel before us. Everybody becomes Jewish. The second type of Messiah they were waiting for is the priest. They were thinking that the Messiah maybe will be someone who's going to pray so beautiful, will celebrate so beautiful liturgies that everybody will say, "All right, that's beautiful. We want to be part of it." So they will become Jews. So at the end of the story of both Messiah is the same. Everyone will become Jews. All right, that's nice, but Jesus didn't fit any of those. So when we talking about Messiah, by the eye of a Christian, we have to see it different because we know Jesus is the Messiah, but didn't fit any of those thinking. And this story talks about it beautifully. First of all, they are at the Lake of Tiberias. If you see the map of today and the time, you can Google it, beautiful places. And there's a lot of road trips. You can go to these places.
Beautiful.
Yes. And this is a remote place. It's far away.
Where is it?
It's next to, I don't know the name of the Tiberias. I don't know the name of it, but probably he gonna put some
can
pictures.
look it up, yeah.
Yes, you can look it up. So you can see where that was, approximately where it was. But it's a remote place, especially in that time, because today maybe it's filled up with houses, but it's 2,000 years before, not that many people. But it's a remote place. And Jesus talks about it. The people are far away. And how gonna be fed them? So, first of all, what we see in this story, that the people are following Jesus because of the miracles he already did. So that means the peoples somehow, on some level, knew what Jesus able to do. They see some miracles and they maybe want to see more, want to hear more. They heard a lot of teachings. They knew someone who saw someone. So the people, the word spread, and the people are there. And there's a lot of people in this area. And that's the first point is the crowd. The thinking of the crowd. The crowd is all the times dumb. I'm sorry for the word. I don't know if I can say this in TV, but the crowd is dumb. The people, the person are smart. They can think outside the box. The crowd all the time inside the box. So this crowd, first of all, if it's people are together, they after a time they will be synchronized together, and it's 1 year. Yawns, one yawns, the other will. If it's one hungry, the other will. So that's natural. That happens in every species in the world. So they're together. Of course, Jesus realizes the problem. They were here. They're following me. They hear me, and they are hungry. What should we do? And that's a good question. And the disciples begins to solve the problem material level. How much money do we need? And that's a really harsh question, because Jesus doesn't have too much money. We know there are some who take care of Jesus, all right, and the disciples. There are some women who feeds them or cook them, or I don't know what they need to do. But most of the time, they do it for 15 people, 20 people.
Right. We'll have to stop right there.
Yes,
15, 20 people, and we'll continue when we
All
get
right.
back. You're watching Spirit of Life. We'll be back very shortly. Hello and welcome back to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Fr Zsolt, who is a Hungarian priest in Victoria, and we're talking about the Gospel of John, chapter 6. Welcome back to the program, Father. Now, before the break, you were saying something about 15 to 20 people, I think you were saying? Yeah.
So approximately the ladies around Jesus and his disciples take care of the 50 to 20 people. That's not too much. That can be handled. But a few thousand, that's a lot. And Jesus knows, the disciples knows, and the distance is big, so the people have to walk a lot, so they have to solve somehow, and Jesus knows the answer. The gospel talks about it. So he asks, how can we handle this? And they think it materially. How much can we buy? All right, that's a so human solution. Let's see how much money do we have. All right, Jesus says, all right, what do you have? That's not enough. They said, all right, what do you have? And they said, we have 5 breads and 2 fish. 5 barley loaves. So in that time, there were, first of all, how does this food get there? Maybe, we don't know, but this belongs to a boy. Maybe somewhere there's a mother who has a lot of kids, and some of those kids are gone. Few days, they gone with Jesus. They gone that direction, Jesus goes that direction, and they lost, and they don't know where they are. But they had a small boy at home. So there's 5 breads and 2 fish, and go after them. And that boy finds them, but not that way as they think. So that means if a little child has this many, that was a lot of food, that means he brings this to someone. This is for family. This is for someone I know. And it's there. And the other story about the bread. In that time, there were two types of flour. Flour, do I say right? Sorry, English, not my native language. So there was the white flour made of wheat, and it was really, really thin. It was really smooth. And the other flour is made of barley. It's a little browner, and the barley seeds are way more harder to grind. So the particles becomes way more harder, dense and harder. So the bread made of this barley, it's become a little bit browner, and because it wasn't the best flour, it was cheaper. So it was called the bread of the poor. So that means these kids, this family is poor. They don't have too much thing. So this kid is there, and Jesus said, give those breads to me. And this kid doesn't know what Jesus wants to do. Jesus knows, but not the disciples, not the kids, not the family. And you can see the faith in this story, because that kid just gave the 5 bread and the 2 fish to Jesus, and doesn't ask, when will you give it back to me? Because there are my relatives and I have. No. So that means the kid trusts Jesus. Doesn't know what's going to happen, but trust. That's the beautiful part. And Jesus multiplying the bread, we don't know how it happens, all right? Or I don't know, just like in the Harry Potter, you know, when they in the Gringotts. No, we don't know that. We don't know that. But we do know that the bread multiplied, not 1, not 2, not 3 times, it's 3,000 times. Because we're talking about 5,000 men. Doesn't talk about the women. I'm sorry, ladies, but all right. So we see at least 8,000 people should be there. That's a lot. And so this happened. The miracle happens, and the people see the miracle. They are part of the miracle. They are eating the miracle. They don't understand how it becomes here, but they're just happy for the food. And you know the Latin sentence, panem et circenses. So you give the show to the people, and the bread to the people, and the show to the people, and the people will be happy. So they get this. They get the show, the bread multiplying, and the bread. So everything is fine, everything is beautiful. And when they see this, the crowd becomes dumb. And that's the sad part. They begin to think about, we want that guy. I'm sorry to call Jesus that guy, but think about this way. That they were thinking about that, all right, we want this. That's nice. We shouldn't have to go to crop the field, or I don't know, making the bread. We just give him 2 and 2 fish, and we're going to eat every day. And we're gone. We're done. We be beautiful, we fed. We don't have to work. So the crowd becomes dumb. And they're thinking that we need this to be a king. And that's an interesting thing that they how did you that? You can find it that they said, this is the prophet. Is it they said, as I remember?
After the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, surely this is the prophet.
This is the prophet. They doesn't call him, this is the king or the priest. You see, they see him in a different way. You know, in that time, they're waiting for the prophet to come back and talk about the Messiah, pointing out the Messiah. That was John the Baptist, all right? He was the prophet. But, of course, this is the crowd. And so, this is the prophet, and they want to make him a king. You know, in that time, that territory was occupied by Rome. Rome didn't want any kings. No, we have a Caesar back in Rome. If you want to be a king, you're going to go on the cross. That's how Jesus get on the cross. Because of this false accusation, he wanted to become a king. All right? So when this happens and Jesus realizes and sees that what people wanted, they want me to be a king. No, I am way more than a king. Jesus is way more. Yes, he got his throne, he got his crown, he got his cape, but not that way as they wanted. So in this story, in the multiplying of the bread, that's amazing part that Jesus says, all right, I don't want to do that. I did this for you. I did it, I multiplied, I give you, I don't fight, but I don't want to be a king. I'm way more. So the other part of this story, maybe we just flew over that, 12 baskets. They filled 12 baskets. All right. Where did the basket arrived. You know, I can imagine a lot of people who's there and do something, and there's some who has some baskets and I don't know, sells something and now it's empty. All right, but 12 baskets is a lot. But they didn't throw out the 12 baskets of bread. They said, all right, we collected. We didn't know what happened with that, but we do know that they collected the leftover.
Beautiful. We have to go to a break now. You're watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly. Hello and welcome back to Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Fr Zsolt, who is a Hungarian priest in Victoria. Welcome back to the program, Father. And we'll continue. And we'll continue with Jesus' walks on the water on chapter 6 of John. When evening came, the disciples went down to the lake, where they got onto a boat and set off across the lake for Capernaum. By now it was dark, and Jesus had not joined them. A strong wind was blowing, and the water grew rough. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on the water. And they were frightened. But he said to them, "It is I. Don't be afraid." Then they were willing to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the shore where they were heading. The next day the crowd had stayed on the opposite shore of the lake, realized that only one boat had been there and that Jesus had not entered it with his disciples, but they had gone away alone. Then some boats from Tiberias landed near the place where the people had eaten the bread after the Lord had given thanks. Once the crowd realized that neither Jesus nor his disciples were there, they got into the boats and went to Capernaum in search of Jesus, the bread of life. When they found him on the other side of the lake, they asked him, "Rabbi, when did you get here?" Jesus answered, "Very truly, I tell you, you are looking for me, not because you saw the signs I performed, but because you ate the loaves and had your fill. Do not work for food that spoils, but for food that endures to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. For on him God the Father has placed his seal of approval." That's it. So what would you like to say?
This is an interesting part, because how did the disciples and Jesus separated? We don't know, but that's a fact that Jesus went up to the mountain or hill, I don't know how high is that place, and we don't know what happened there, but we do know that the disciples left without Jesus. Or maybe they thought that Jesus somewhere in the boat sleeping there, we don't know that. But they left without Jesus, and there was some fighting on the water. There's problems, and Jesus walks on water. So that means Jesus is over the laws of physics or nature, and he just goes after them, and he just meet them, and they see another miracle after the multiplying of bread. They see Jesus walking on the water, and I'm sorry, but sometimes your minds go off. So if Jesus turns the water into wine, what happens is he turns the whole lake into wine. But no, we don't go that direction. Sorry, that was a bad joke. So they met, they get there, and the people on the other side, the crowd, begins to look for Jesus and the disciples. Where are they? And they realizing we cannot walk on water, so we need boats, and they get on the boats and get to the other side, and they met Jesus. And this is where the whole story begins to get twisted, because the crowd, as I told you before, is dumb. And they go after Jesus, but not because they have what they have seen. And Jesus is pointing it out. This is a so human side of Jesus. We see sometimes this human side when he sleeps in the boat, when he cries at Lazarus' grave. There's a human side of Jesus which we don't see too many times. But here, he's almost harsh. He's almost cruel. You didn't come for me because what you have seen. You come for me because you are hungry. And I'm saying this as a Hungarian, that's a really hard word, but it's true. It's true because they don't want too much things. Most of the people want simple things. They want to live, they want to love, they want to survive today, and they want to do some work, get a lot of money for it, and leave me alone on the weekdays, at the end of the week. All right, for 2 days, let me leave. So most of the people love simple things. And these people, of course, do the same. Maybe the age, maybe the time is different, but the human nature are the same. So they're thinking this way, we don't want too much. We want some food. And goes after Jesus. And it's interesting how they greet him. They said him, Rabbi. It doesn't say him, King. But yesterday, they wanted to make him king. Now, today, they don't want to because they see he does not want to. But this is the same word as Mary Magdalena calls him at the tomb, Rabbi. So they look Jesus as a teacher, as someone who can give us some knowledge and some bread for free. So they give the respect, the mutual respect, what they see from Jesus. He talks to people with a nice tone. He gives bread and fish and do the best. So they give him the respect. Rabbi, how did you get here? And he almost, let me say this way, I'm sorry to say this, turned the knife between the bones. So Jesus talks, you don't want miracles. You don't want more. You want food, bread and fish. I can give you more. And that's the point when the whole story twists, because Jesus begins to talk about the most important part of the Christianity, of following him, the Eucharist. And that's a story for me. A few years back, when I get here in Australia, I go through the gate and there was a lady standing in front of the church and watching the signs and seeing the timetable. And I begin to talk to her. Can I help you? She didn't respond, doesn't speak English. I said, tudok segíteni? That's in Hungarian, the same. No, parla l'Italian? Sì, parla Italian. She was Italian. Yeah. And she begins to say, and I said, oh, that's all I can say in Italian. But we pointing out when the Holy Mass are. And I told her that, all right, but all English, no Italiano, all English. She looked at me and said, English, Italiano, Eucharistia. And that's the point. Yeah. And we should not forget the Eucharistia is the point.
Beautiful. We've come to the end of the program. Would you like to come back on again and we'll do another program with you and finish off the rest of John chapter 6?
We should. Yes. We should.
That'll be lovely. Yes. Thank you, Father.
Lovely. Happily.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. I'm Mirella Rich. I hope you enjoyed the program. And our guest was Fr Zsolt. And we'll be back again with Fr Zsolt next week to discuss the rest of John chapter 6.